let's talk about Niccolò Machiavelli. Just hearing the name conjures up some pretty intense images, right? For 500 years, it's been a shorthand for cunning, manipulation, and a dark kind of political genius. But what did he actually say? Let's pull back the curtain and try to find the real person behind that sinister reputation.
So when you hear someone call a politician or a boss Machiavellian, what do you picture? We throw that word around all the time. But what's the real story behind what might be the most infamous job application in history? His book, The Prince.
Yeah, for most of us, this is what comes to mind. The dictionary basically paints this picture of a backstabbing villain, right? Someone who will do literally anything to get ahead. And look, that's definitely part of the story, but it is not the whole picture. To really get what he was on about, we have to dig a little deeper.
And this brings us to Machiavelli's first, and honestly most radical idea. He wasn't interested in fairy tales or utopian fantasies about how the world should be. He was a political realist. He was obsessed with observing how power actually works, describing the world as he saw it, warts and all.
This right here, this comparison gets to the absolute heart of his philosophy. See, before Machiavelli, political thinkers wrote about ideal republics and perfectly virtuous kings. Machiavelli just swept all of that off the table. He basically said, hey, let's stop talking about the ideal world and focus on the real world. And in the real world, things aren't guided by morality. They're guided by power and the cold, hard necessity of survival.
He even had a name for this approach, the effectual truth. It's a simple idea, but it's profound. Don't base your actions on how you wish people would behave. Base them on how they actually behave. And in his view, that was selfishly, fearfully, and ungratefully. For any ruler, ignoring this truth is just a recipe for disaster.
And this leads us to probably the most famous phrase attached to his name, even though he never wrote those exact words. The core idea is that a ruler's #1 duty is the security and stability of the state. So, if an action, even a cruel or deceptive one, achieves that goal and prevents chaos, then for Machiavelli, that action is justified. It's a shocking thought, for sure, but it is central to his entire logic.
Okay, so if you're a ruler trying to make it in this cold, hard world he's describing, what do? Well, Machiavelli's work isn't just some abstract theory, it's a practical and, often brutal handbook for holding on to power. Let's get into the core principles of his survival guide.
It all really boils down to this concept called raison d'etat, or reason of state. The idea is simple. The state's survival comes first, always. It is the ultimate good, and a ruler's personal morality has to take a back seat if the state is in jeopardy. And you can still hear echoes of this principle debated today whenever a government argues that certain actions are necessary for national security.
I love this analogy he uses about the two faces a prince must wear. You have to be the lion, strong and courageous enough to just scare off the wolves. But being a lion isn't enough. You also have to be the fox, clever and cunning enough to see the traps before you step in them. A ruler who is only one or the other, they're doomed. You need both that raw power and that strategic intellect.
Now we get to one of his most chilling questions. Is it better to be loved or feared? His answer is brutally pragmatic. Love, he argues, is unreliable. People are fickle. Their affection for you will vanish the second it becomes inconvenient for them. Fear, on the other hand, fear is constant. That dread of punishment is a much more reliable tool for keeping people in line.
But, and this is a huge but, there is a critical line you cannot cross. You want to be feared, yes, but never, ever hated. Hatred is what leads to rebellion. So how do you avoid it? The rules are surprisingly simple. Don't take people's property, and don't dishonor their families. He famously wrote that men will sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their inheritance. It's a dark insight into human nature, but a sharp one.
So a ruler has to be strong, cunning, and feared. But is that enough? I mean, what about all the things you just can't control? Machiavelli breaks down a ruler's success into a constant battle between two powerful forces.
The first force is what he called virtù. Now, it is crucial to understand this is not virtue, like we think of it, like being a good person. For Machiavelli, virtù is all about effectiveness. It's your skill, your courage, your ability to read a situation and act decisively to impose your will on the world. It's all the stuff you can control.
But of course, you can't control everything. The other force is fortuna, or fortune. This is just luck, chance, the chaos of the universe. He compared it to a raging river that can flood and destroy everything.
You can't stop the river from flowing, but a ruler with virtù can build dams and levees to prepare for the flood and try to direct its force.
So the crucial point is that your success is basically a 50-50 split. Half of it is up to your own skill, your virtue. The other half is just blind luck, or fortuna. A great leader, in his view, is someone who uses their 50% of control to prepare for and mitigate the 50% they can't.
So why are we still talking about these ideas 500 years later? It's because they fundamentally changed how we think about power itself.
And for Machiavelli, none of this clever statecraft mattered without a strong military. He was absolutely adamant that a ruler needed a national army of citizens, not unreliable mercenaries. In his view, a stable state and good laws could only be built on the foundation of good arms.
So, to wrap this all up, what was Machiavelli's revolution? You can break it down into 4 main things. 1. He divorced politics from conventional morality, arguing they operate by completely different rules. 2. He based his entire system on a cynical, but you could argue realistic, view of people. 3. He said the security of the state is the ultimate goal, period. And 4, he turned political philosophy from an abstract ideal into a practical, hands-on guide for anyone who dared to rule.
And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Was Machiavelli simply telling the timeless, uncomfortable truth about how power really works? Or did he create a dangerous playbook that justifies any and all abuses in the name of the state? That's a question that leaders, and all of us, have been wrestling with ever since.